This is also just outside of Retford, and I've come to film one thing, but ended up finding and filming something else. Quite often it's surprising just how a day can change, or a visit to a particular site, like Ordsall here, where I've just come to do some filming and finish off a series of videos regarding some unidentified ropalid bug eggs. I've walked to the end because I had a suspicion that there was one of these trees here, a salix, one of the narrow-leaved ones. And this morning, earlier on today, I was reminded that a species of leaf miner was moving north through the UK. Now, the record came from Yorkshire. And lo and behold, as I walked up to this tree here, these lower branches, straight away, there was the mine. There was another one. And over here, there's another one. These are the leaf mines of Phyllocnistis saligna, and it's a new species to Nottinghamshire, unless someone sneakily found it in the south of the county in the last few weeks. Judging by its appearance here at Retford, it must be elsewhere, especially in south of the county. One of those species that I'm sure, if we start to look for it more proactively, or indeed for the first time, because this is the first time I've ever even considered looking for it, we'll find it. And here is the mine of Phyllocnistis saligna. It's typical of all of the Phyllocnistis. They make this upper surface of the leaf kind of mine. It's a long, thin gallery mine. It has the appearance of a snail trail, that sort of slimy trail that snails and slugs leave behind. It looks a lot like that. And on Phyllocnistis unipunctella, which does the same kind of mine but on poplars, that's especially difficult to see at times. This one is as easy as anything to see. The mine is formed along the midrib in this case, and it does go down the petiole, and you can see here it goes into the stem. There's a mine, same thing is up there as well. Who would have thought it? First time I've looked for it, and here it is, potentially a new species for Nottinghamshire. And apparently it is a species that is creeping up through the UK. So it's one to go out and look for. Probably near water, which is your likely location to find sallows like this, the narrow-leaved sallow, and it does include weeping willow as well. And these mines stand out like the proverbial sore thumb. Well, I didn't think I'd be finding this today. I was planning to look for it, but I didn't think it'd be here and I'd drop on it straight away. It's amazing how you can just drop in, quite lucky or fortuitous, should we say, on something. This is the very first tree and only tree that I've looked for this leaf miner, and found it just as I walked up to it. It's a very obvious mine, very easy to see. Well worth surveying for and having a look, especially down the south of the Trent Valley in Nottinghamshire. So, back home, another video to edit, no doubt. and another pint to celebrate. Now, if you're still awake after all this nonsense, you may well notice I've changed shirts. It's because I've changed the day as well. It's a couple of days since I found Phyllocnistis saligna at Ordsall. Calling back on the way home from Ordsall, I then stopped at Budby village and checked some roadside sallows and willows there. Found it straight away. I then found it at Market Warsaw almost immediately on arriving at a suitable site with a cracked willow like this. So today I've done a bit more surveying for it. It started off in the Eakring area where I found it at Eakring Meadows, but then it turned up at Kersal, as you can see on the map. On the way back from there I found it at Wellow against the dam on some cracked willow there, and I've come through where I live at Market Warsaw, and now I'm in Mansfield Woodhouse on the side of the fairways. This is the spot actually where I used to come looking for another Phyllocnistis, one that's not in Nottinghamshire as yet. Well, at least I've not found it. That's Phyllocnistis xenia. You have to check some trees here, some white poplars, very regularly. But Phyllocnistis saligna is here. My next port of call is going to be Kingsmill Reservoir, my old bird-watching stomping ground, somewhere that I occasionally go back to for a wander round. I'm sure it's going to be there and I'll find it within a few minutes of arriving on site. This species must be all over Nottinghamshire. And as it transpires, since I filmed the original section of this video from Ordsall, Phyllocnistis saligna was found standing on the wolds in September 2021, and that appears to be Nottinghamshire's first and only other record. It's quite a little long. I'm continuing my sort of mini quest or mini survey, checking sites with narrow-leaved willows and sallows, looking for Phyllocnistis saligna. I'm continuing to find it everywhere I go, and it's here at Kingsmill Res. But while I'm here, I was having a little reminisce. This was my bird watching home between 1994 and 1997. This ended my years of being well known within the county for turning up anywhere and everywhere, as long as it was in Nottinghamshire. I used to do 25,000 miles a year and never went outside the county bird watching. And then one gloomy, wet, horrible and cold November afternoon, I stood at this far end with Paul Naylor and Lester Alcock. We had nothing in all the rain. Then after we left, a great northern diver dropped in apparently and was still here the following morning. But in those days there was no internet, there was no page system, so you didn't find out about it until about 3 months later. But it was the start of regular bird watching here, and by God, did we have some fantastic days here. If we were stood at this northeastern corner, it meant a good day was potentially on the cards, although it also usually meant that we were going to get wet. And that was the view that we stood at, although when we did stand here, it was never sunny. We stood here for a reason, because it was sheltered here from any northeasterly wind that there was, and also the rain, because northeasterly winds, rain, overcast conditions in spring invariably meant good birds. We had species like knot here, turnstone, sandling. You'd have groups going through. turns, the big turn day of 1994, 23rd of April it was. That became an anniversary date. And it's not took me long to find plenty of examples of the Phyllocnistis saligna leaf mine. There's a number on here, and there's even more on the trees as you go along the south side of Kingsmill Res. This moth must be throughout Nottinghamshire by now. I've gone roughly from east to west across Nottinghamshire, at least the top part of Nottinghamshire, and found it at every single site where you've got species like crack willow and white willow. It's an easy find. It's been known in Leicestershire from at least 2017, and I dare say it was in Nottinghamshire around the same time, or certainly 2018. I've slipped up and been lazy. Never even thought to look for it, and have looked on willows like this in south of the county around Colwick Park a couple of years ago. Never noticed any. But its rate of spread must be phenomenal. Well, it's been nice to pop back to Kingsmill Res, albeit briefly. Some good memories stood just along this northeast end. Some not so good memories from the hospital on the hill, but here some happy days, some ecstatic times brought about through rare birds. But nowadays, a few times that have been since 1997 have all been to record invertebrates or to look for a certain species like Phyllocnistis saligna. Not at all surprised that it's here, and here in good numbers as well. It'll be throughout Nottinghamshire, which gives us lots of opportunity to go looking for it. Some good birds here over the years, and now some good invertebrates. Maybe I'll come back again and reminisce.